I'm gonna just launch in here a little bit. We have a few folks here who are here for this evening, so we're gonna just go ahead. I am running against a very well-funded Republican. He's funded by Robert and Rebecca Mercer, and they got a lot of money. So it would be great if any of you can make a contribution, if you haven't done that, large or small. The easiest way to do that is to go to my website, jerryallenforsenate.com, and click on the donate button, and that will take you through all the stuff. You have to tell them who you are and who you work for or whatever. So it'll prompt you and give you all of that. So any questions about any of that? Okay, well.
Could maybe Michelle put the address in the chat?
Yeah, I'll do that.
Thank you.
Great. Are you hearing that, Jerry Ventura?
I did, and I'm going to put it in right now.
Great, thank you.
And just a reminder to everybody, we get a $50 tax credit on political donations, so your first $50 doesn't cost you anything.
Thank you so much for saying that, David. That was on my reminders here, and
I stole your thunder.
That's great. It does make it easier to spend that $50 and by donating when you get a tax credit. So that's great. So I'm going to launch right in here before we start in with Dave Garcia on the questions about affordable housing. I'm going to give you my 5-minute stump speech, and I'm going to talk kind of fast, and you can ask me questions if I didn't make sense about something. So I'm running for the state Senate because in this time of crisis, we need competent, truthful, cooperative leaders in the legislature. We're in the middle of a huge crisis that everybody knows about. Started by the virus and then by what had to happen with the economy, and the economy's coming apart at the seams and there's huge unemployment. We've got to do a lot of work to rebuild here in Oregon. We've got to rebuild the backbone of our economy, which is small business. More than half of the people are employed by small business. And so we've got to create jobs for Oregonians all across the state. At the same time, we've got to address the health and economic impacts of the virus in all the different facets of it. We have to work on affordable housing for our families and education for our children. We have to deepen our protection from wildfires, support revitalizing agriculture and small farmers to feed our communities. We may not be able to count on bringing in food from Chile. We may have to grow it here. And we need to support continuing to improve our educational system and create the jobs for our kids in the new green economy that is coming. I'm a small farmer and a fire district volunteer. I've also had a background as a hospital executive, a clinic founder, and an elected financial and pension trustee. I have the experience and I understand the need to work together to be an effective state legislator. Partisan bickering and grandstanding have gotten us nowhere. The COVID-19 virus crisis demands that we have legislators who will find common ground and work directly with business, unions, schools, universities, and other groups to rebuild our economy, a greener economy with skill training and thousands of living wage jobs for Oregonians. As an elected 4-term financial trustee, I have had the experience of working with others to find common ground. I've earned the trust of individuals from all political persuasions. To solve the COVID-19 crisis, we must work together. We must rely on public health professionals to help us reopen our communities in a safe way that avoids virus spikes and helps get our economy going again. I have a master's in public health and I'm a licensed emergency medical responder. I know how to work with those professionals and I can bring that skill set to the legislature. At the same time, we have to prioritize other non-COVID-19 issues, including providing adequate resources to fight wildland fires. We're coming up on fire season. These fires have the potential to destroy our communities, engulf us in smoke, and destroy the tourism industry that we depend on. So we need to build affordable housing for families and continue to support education, as I've said earlier. And that's what we're going to focus on tonight is affordable housing and its links to all these other elements. So here's my pledge to you. I will not run away from the job. I won't cross a state line to avoid voting. I will report to work. I'll advocate strongly for the communities of rural Southern Oregon to get our fair share of assistance and rebuilding money. I won't waste public money. I will tell the truth and will be transparent in my work as your state senator. There you have it. That's my stump speech. And a lot of you have heard it before. You're gonna hear it over and over again as I say it on the campaign trail, but that's my report and I'm sticking to it. So now I'm going to turn to introduce David Garcia. David Garcia is the immediate past president of the Illinois Valley Chamber of Commerce. He's done a lot of things, but one of them is he's a developer, a builder, and he is in the business of building affordable housing here in the Illinois Valley. And I've had some long talks with David about this, and I'm very impressed with the work that he's doing, and I think that you will find it very interesting to hear him describe this. So I'm going to ask David to join me now.
Ring a bell. Hello, Jerry. How you doing?
Me, David. Good. And I'm going to ask David, is there anything I left out about your background that you want to say, David?
Well, I've been doing this quite a while, and I came from the Bay Area, and I built very large business parks for Hewlett-Packard and Sun Microsystems and a host of other companies. And those were 5-year projects that incorporated every aspect of civilian life. So we got involved with electrical, air, the environment, the green, doctors, educators, everybody had to take part in it. And so everybody contributed to it, and everybody was involved in it. And so that was the atmosphere I was used to working in, a very cohesive group of people involved in different aspects of the community. What I've run into here is, wow. Basic issue is a lack of business acumen and a lack of business literacy. And I've met with all sorts of leaders here in the local community, and very frustrating that they have a lack of knowledge, a lack of foresight, and a lack of business integrity, I would say. So how that all impacts is it makes it very hard for anybody to do what I'm doing. We've been working on this for 3 years, and we have yet to put up a board on any house, even though everything's been approved over the 3 years ago. So it's dealing with the local inability of the local people to manage the community. So we end up chasing our tails quite a bit. And the state was no help to us, but the county has come up and has stepped up considerably and helped us. But we've still run into a lot of issues with the city. And
Dave,
a lot of
let me
it
ask
is.
you, I want to ask you a question.
Go ahead.
In this affordable housing that you want to build here in this county, in Josephine County, approximately, if they would get out of your way, approximately how many jobs would you, people would you put to work virtually immediately?
Easily 40.
So these are 40 good building great jobs.
Oh yeah, I've had, when we finished our bridge and we're working on a roadway and the electrical, I had 40 to 45 people out there working full time for about 3 weeks.
Right.
Until we completed that. And that didn't include the construction people and I've got literally 10 to 12 contractors and their people all standing idle waiting for us to get this going.
Right. So
So that's a lot of jobs that are not only for the housing, but it's all the engineering. we employ about 12 real engineers, a host of county people that have come out for inspections, not even including the testing people that got to test the soil, water, everything that we do. Anything we touch has to be tested.
right.
So in the gamut, there's probably in the cloud probably up to 100, 120 people that have been out there working on this project.
Right. So can you describe a little bit about things that you've told me, Dave, about what these housing units, like some of the duplexes and those kind of things, what does this affordable housing look like that you're going to build?
Well, what we have is we've met with a lot of different people and tried to come up with something that's going to fit the current income brackets of the people in the area and between Illinois Valley and Grants Pass. And we've got USDA and a whole bunch of other programs that are ready and willing to go and help these people move into these houses, virtually no money down. They move right in. They can, with the duplex, they can rent the second half of the building, and that is considered income. So that would help reduce the rent. If all is said and done, we can get them into their own house, with their own appliances, everything all set up for about $500 to $700 a month in mortgage when all is said and done. So there's a lot of people here in the area that are working. Generally, there's 2 adults working and a child living there, and they're living in just abject squalor. And when I talked to them, when I met with them, they told me that the reason was they couldn't complain, they couldn't say anything because the landlord would kick them out, and it would take 9 months to find something. So looking at their condition and seeing that they were fully capable of making their rent payments without a problem, they would have no problem getting into their own house and making a mortgage payment. And now they're actually accumulating something. They're actually doing something, and better, more energy efficient, much more green in the way they're built, much more. We're meeting with all the energy solution people to make sure they're built properly. Every house would have fire suppression and be fire resistant and be more energy efficient. Heating, everything would be better. And so environmentally, it's a lot safer, a lot better product than what they're in now. And so we just knew that we could do this, and after meeting with a number of people in the area and find out what was going to work best for them, a large single-family home was not going to work best. But we could get them into something that they could actually afford to live and afford to buy, and something that would, add cash, down the road for them.
That's
So
great.
I'm all for home ownership.
So you've also, I'm I benefit from having talked with you about this in ways that really
Right.
was very interesting to me. So I'm going to just keep asking you about aspects of this. You've told me about employers that would love to bring industry and jobs into our region, but they can't find places for their people to live. And I'm wondering,
Yeah, we're in a chicken and egg situation where we have employers that want to come in. For instance, Rogue Valley wanted to add 12 engineers to his facility here, which would double their group. But there's no housing for them, so he has nowhere to bring them. And I talked to medical people that are living in Klamath Falls because they can't find any affordable housing, between Grants Pass and Ashland. And so there's a lot of that. We have businesses that when I was in Chamber of Commerce, there were a lot of businesses that said they wanted to come out here, but they had nowhere for their employees to live. So not having the housing available is stymieing the job growth and vice versa. So we decided, Nancy and I, a few years ago, kind of happenstance, just to let's go ahead and do this. We can do this and get the ball rolling, and we can bring in the housing, get the people here living here, get the professionals in here, and it would add to the economy here. So, and it would perpetuate growth. And what we ran into was a lot of people that were resistant to that for some unknown reason. And they were, I think it was just a lack of understanding how business works. And what's grown here is a culture of dependency over the last 10 years. And so people here are, everything is, I got to get a grant for this, or I got to get a grant for that. And what they don't realize is that that is a dead end. And so you're limited to that grant. And once that grant runs out, you're dead. But if we can build the business sector, and I'm a lifelong Democrat, but I think that business makes everything work. And so if we can grow the business sector, we can create jobs for the kids coming out of high school. We can get more engineers into the economy here. We can get more jobs in here. There's more industry that wants to come here. I met with So Ready. I met with a whole bunch of different economic groups, development groups, and they gave up on working in the Illinois Valley because they got so much resistance. So I have taken it upon myself, quite honestly, to recruit 3 individuals to run for city council here, because we're determined to make a change in that. And if I can get 3 people in there that are like-minded, that are willing to help business, help the economy grow and everything, then we can really make a major impact. Like you getting into the Senate. That's the way we got to do it. We got to fight it politically.
Great. So I want to ask you about another, I'm going to throw another softball to you here, because it's one I believe in too. You know, I hear a lot of people talk about, we have a combination of, we're going to have to spend a lot of money in order to rebuild our economy. But we really don't want to raise taxes on the existing population. So if we are able then to build all of this affordable housing in the Illinois Valley, in the Grants Pass region, in the Rogue Valley, over in Jackson County, if we're able to build housing to address a real need there, it seems like this will increase the tax base without raising taxes on existing families. Does that sound right to you?
Yeah, I think the whole thing of raising taxes is a false flag. One, nobody's going to vote for it, and number two, there's literally hundreds of millions of dollars of investment money that is sitting off to the side right now because there's nobody on the inside willing to work with people. When you go to meet with the city staff, or you go meet the county planning's gotten a lot better, but when you went and met with them, there was immediate conflict, distrust, discord, and like I said, with the lack of business acumen, it turns a lot of investors away. But they watching what I'm doing, and they've come to me and said, we're watching to see how you're going to do this. We want your help in helping us proceed with what their plans are. And that's money that comes in, and like I talked to Darren Fowler and the sheriff the other day, and I said, my project alone, just alone, in the next 2 years can pump $900,000 into the city of Cave Junction. No taxes. That's just the fees, that's just the, building fees, whatever else, that would go right into the city coffers immediately. And since they have a $5.5 million budget, that's adding 20% to their budget right off the cuff. And no taxes and then if you figure $1,200 a year per house times 65 homes, that's around what, $80,000 that goes into the coffers every year once we get this going. And that does include, water fees. That does include everything else that will be coming up. So yeah, when these people talk about going to the state with their little, cup out, or going to the federal government with their little cup out, it's a waste of time. You're looking at months and months down the road. Whereas if they would just open the doors and allow these people to come in and make the investments, the cash is there, the money is there, and bring these people into the fold and work with them to develop intelligently and environmentally safe and sound structures, we would not be in the predicament we're in now. So
A couple of friends.
I'm against raising taxes.
Yeah, I hear you. A couple of friends have asked me, are you going to use good environmental green approaches to building so that we build with the climate crisis in mind? We build with an effort to try to simultaneously do the right thing from an environmental standpoint. Can you say something about that?
Yeah, everything is water, and maximize the efficiency of the water. We minimize the water usage, where we'll have all local natural fauna on all the grounds, so that we're not adding some exotic trees or anything that are going to, cause all kinds of problems. The buildings themselves, we have 3 different types. One is wood, and another one is ICF, which is a foam and concrete, essentially a concrete building, and extremely efficient when it comes to energy and air control, and everything will have ductless air conditioners, so we can maximize the efficiency and reduce the amount of energy that's used to run these places. And then by doing that, we're actually able to cut the amount of amps per house down from 200 to about 120 per house. So that's a big savings electrically. Everything's LED, and hopefully LCD will be out soon. LCD is even 10 times more efficient. But everything we do goes into looking forward to maximize efficiency, keep the cost down so they're still affordable, but maintain as clean and green a product as we can. And so
That's cool.
the other one is a resin concrete type of mix, but we haven't tested that yet.
Wow. So your comment a few minutes ago about, waiting for getting the federal help or getting help from far away, the cavalry are going to come and help us eventually. It seems like time is of the essence here, that if we are going to rebuild the economy in this region, we need to be about it right now, not next year, not waiting until inauguration day, not waiting. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen with the federal government, but we need to be doing it here now. And it looks to me like what you're saying is, if you can get the approvals, we can do this in this region now, and the local investors will be willing to put into it, and the mortgage companies or the local credit unions and banks. It's I know I've talked to First Community Credit Union about this kind of idea, and they seem pretty receptive.
They're all waiting. They're all interested in it. There's very little inventory available for anybody to do any expansion, and so they're all looking for this to get more inventory on the market, to create get more jobs for more realtors, more appraisers, more, you name it down the line. But yeah, I've talked to Umpqua, I've talked to Willamette, I've talked to People's Bank. They're all looking for something to get going on here in the mortgage market. And so the thing is, like Tip O'Neill said, think globally, act locally, truly works here because everything we have is right here. Everything we need to work with is right here. And we have the talent, we have the, I've got artists that are doing work for us. I've got all kinds of people in the community that have invested time and money into what we're doing. And so it feeds the local economy continually. And there's, the state has their own ideas and what objectives and what they're trying to do. And to me, adding a lot of apartments is not the answer. If we can get people, and there's no reason for it, if we can get people into their own homes, then you improve the community, you cut drugs, you cut crime, and everybody has a stake in the outcome. And so that's what we're trying to perpetuate. That's what we're trying to build on.
That's great.
And so I've met with these groups. There's literally hundreds of millions of dollars sitting out there waiting for things to happen here. So we decided to be, rather than be on the sideline, we're going to go full bore into this, and we have an agenda that we're going to promote, and we're going to take over the city, and we can expand the city of Cave Junction virtually out to the airport, and we can bring in a lot of businesses over there. A lot of housing can be added. There's a lot that we can do locally right here. We don't have to go out for handouts. We don't have to go out for grants. We don't have to go out for all of these other things that the first answer to a lot of people, we'll write a grant. And so,
so some of the folks, maybe 40% of this Senate district are in Jackson County. And of course, we have the whole Rogue Valley there. I believe that it's possible that this kind of model can apply all across this region. I wonder if you have spoken, Dave, to people from some of those other areas who are saying that they want to do the same thing.
Oh yeah, and they asked me, could we replicate this model in other locations? And I said, absolutely, but Grants Pass has run into a problem where all their infrastructure is beyond capacity. So they asked me if they offered me land and everything else, but I told them, you don't have the sewer, water, power, anything to support that. Until you guys get your act together and get serious and fix that, you're limiting your availability for anybody to come in. The Medford area, they're booming right now. I don't think they need me down there, but there are areas in Jackson County that can do the same thing. I'm not inventing the wheel. This has been done elsewhere, but this is something that could be done anywhere, virtually anywhere. You could pick it up and put it anywhere.
Great.
So everything we're doing is simple. Keeping everything simple. By keeping everything simple, we're able to keep the costs down. And so it's something that you could pick up and put anywhere, and kind of like Habitat for Humanity.
Right.
Clean, basic designs that you can go in, put up quickly, and can replicate anywhere.
So it seems like there might be a good use for a little bit more oomph at the state legislature to really push this and say, look, we need to get this going, and if there are logs in the path, we need to clear them out of the way so that we can get this going now, not next year or the year after, or sometime in the long future.
As I've told you, we've talked about it quite a bit. I've got teams of lawyers that we've been talking to for years about doing all this work, and quite frankly, it's very expensive. Nobody wants to go to court. Nobody wants to deal with all this stuff. And but we got to protect our assets. We got to protect what we're doing. But you know, I talked to lawyers like, oh my Lord, I don't want to put 2 years or 3 years into suing a city or suing a county or getting anywhere. If I can do it politically with the right people and just people that are intelligent and have business sense, if I can promote that politically, where it's a lot faster, a lot more economical for me, and it gets the job done without going through all the fighting and rigmarole and the garbage that lawsuits entail. So that's why I'm supporting you. That's why I'm supporting these guys, because I think we got to get that kind of mentality in our government.
Great.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's anyone in the audience who has questions that they want to ask of Dave. If you do, you can use that chat button, and I don't maybe have all the questions, so you might have some questions for Dave that you want to ask. And if there, okay, so we don't have any more posted questions, so I'm going to.
Oh, somebody
Actually,
asked me.
Jerry, here we go, Jerry. So
Okay.
Georgia, I'm going to unmute you. I mean, you might have to unmute yourself, but Georgia has a question about how many units would you construct initially? So I'm guessing that's probably for Dave. And Georgia, you're unmuted if you want to clarify that.
I think it's self-explanatory. Thanks, Dave, for your explanation.
Thank you. Right now, we're looking at the first 6 duplexes going in. As soon as we can, we've already broke ground on 2. And then eventually we'll have, in the first phase, we'll have about 10 duplexes and 7 single-family homes. And then in phase 2, we're hoping for about 30 more duplexes. That seems to be the thing that people want and to be the most helpful economically.
It's very exciting to think about people who can buy a duplex, use the income stream for that rental unit to help them make their cost for their mortgage, and it provides homes for 2 families at the same time. It builds the tax base. It's being done in a green way so that we're not hurting the environment. In fact, you know, we're creating housing that is going to fit with where we need to go environmentally, and creating jobs. And it also provides places to live for people who could move here to take the jobs from industries. I remember, Dave, you were telling me about a company that manufactures truck beds, I believe, and they wanted to increase the size of their plant in the region, but they didn't have anywhere to tell people they could find a place to live. So, I mean, it just looks like a win-win all over the place to me.
It is, and there's Rogue River, Rogue Valley Trucking over here that does the trucks, works on the semis and things. There's the supply place that took over the mill there. He's been trying to add people, but he has nowhere to house them. So he could probably have 12 full-time jobs out there. Plus, there's extraneous things, all little businesses that would pop up that would be, you know, hamburgers, bakeries, whatever, that would help feed into that. And there's more things like Bargain Market or Dollar General or any of those things. There's 2 hotels that are planned for the area. There's a lot of other things that will come out of that. So it's not just the jobs that are on our development itself, it's all the other additional things that echo out of the facility. So that's what we're looking for. It's just a catalyst to get the engine going.
I'm wondering.
Infrastructure improvements?
Yes, infrastructure.
Yeah.
I know in Sonoma County, the larger developments were required to improve the roads around them, things like that. I'm wondering both, well, I have a kind of a question and a comment. I'm wondering if your current project includes any improvements to infrastructure. And also where
Oh, yeah.
the kind of projects you're talking about and expanding on that potentially improves the county infrastructure at the cost of the developers, not the cost of the community.
Right. Oh, yeah. We've had to put roadways, gutters, sidewalks, street lights, sewer lines, water lines, adding to the capacity of the current systems that are there. It's all encompassing. I mean, trust me, 3 years of this and investing a lot of money into all that before we ever put up a building. So, yeah, we've done a lot of that.
Well, thank you for doing that. And it also feels like an important aspect of how this benefits the district, the county, the city, that wherever the building is going on, it's not just there's more housing and there's the business aspect, but there's also the infrastructure aspect that is a real benefit.
So it looks like
You're
Gary.
right.
Dorothy.
Everything's antiquated and needs to be built up.
Yeah, my question is about solar panels. I wonder if you've looked into solar panels at all, or if they're feasible in this region or for these units.
Every house will be built with being solar ready. Currently, we looked into all the latest technologies for solar panels, and it was not financially feasible at this time, because they would have been, except Trump did a lot of damage on the solar panel market. They were dropping in price almost in half every year, and so far they've maintained a steady level that's too high. So we looked at that and looked at solar generators for each house, and they're just not quite there yet.
I wonder if you could say a little bit about solar ready. What does that mean?
That means everything is in place they can come in and put the solar panels on the roof, and it drops down right into the main panel. And so when they're ready, if they want to add solar panels on the roof, they can come down. There will be a separate junction box that they would plug that into, and then they have their transformer that would turn it into regular power, regular energy for the house. So you could switch over, or you could put a system in. I believe as of this year, every new construction in Oregon has to be solar ready.
Thank you.
So that's all put in.
And then Dave,
right.
you might have something else to say about this, but I believe that the Oregon Trust has a program where a homeowner can go to them and get a bid from a solar contractor, or how much it would cost to put that on, and then they will give them a portion of the money from the Oregon Trust to help cover the cost, plus whatever the federal rebates are. So there are ways that a homeowner can put them on their house for some reduction in cost.
Right, and the cost is still a little bit high. I think once Biden gets in, and there's a lot of these bills sitting in the Senate, hopefully we flip the Senate. Once the dam breaks open and this starts coming out, the cost is going to drop dramatically. And so then you can have these benefits of having the solar panels put on the roof and taking advantage of that energy. So the main cost right there is battery storage and the transformer. So I've seen houses out here that have invested in that, and it takes about 7 to 10 years for it to pay off. But again, once a dam breaks open, we can probably drop that down to 2 to 3 years, real easy. So then it's worthwhile for anybody to invest in that. But our objective right now, because of the cost differential, is we can make them solar ready, but it's just, I'd have to add $50,000 per house to make them all solar energy compliant. So that's just not going to be feasible at this time. But as technology, any technology, 2 to 4 years down the road, it will be.
So basically, you're making these houses, they're wired for the seamless transition. There's not going to have to be a lot of electrical work for them to put the panels on the roof.
Right, that's right.
So it looks like Michelle Binker has a question for you. Michelle, you're unmuted.
Hi, good evening, Dave, Nancy, and everyone. Thank you for being here. You do own the land that you're trying to develop in Cave Junction, I assume. Can you tell us a little bit about how we're situated in our community for available or developable land within the urban growth boundaries of Cave Junction and Grants Pass?
Grants Pass is pretty much maxed out on their urban growth boundary. They have to do, like I said, they have to redo their infrastructure, and they could expand. There's available land for them to expand out to, especially to the south. Cave Junction, we are within the urban growth boundary.
Right.
Right now, but the issue with Cave Junction is it's almost like Swiss cheese, and so part of the objective of the new group that's going in is to clean up and make the actual city of Cave Junction much more cohesive. But we're within that, and then we can expand Cave Junction out toward the airport and out toward Kirby, and add more, extend the urban growth boundary out that direction, and that would avail a lot more land and materials to anybody who wanted to build more houses. There's still a lot of in-town space available
To fill in, but not necessarily to do an entire development.
Oh,
and certainly it makes sense, I think, to follow the water, since we have that water system that goes up to Kirby. That would be a good idea to push the UGB up that direction and do some more development that way as land came available. I found it really kind of exhilarating and daunting to imagine Cave Junction's UGB traveling down towards the airport, but we'll see where that goes. Good luck. And certainly
as far as business development, there's a lot of opportunity there that would add to the coffers of Cave Junction. So
undoubtedly.
With the right planning, and there's honestly a number of hemp processing businesses that want to come here. There's some medical industries that want to come here. There's a host of other trucking agencies that would like to have something in the area because their truckers, there's 100 miles between here and most trucking stops. So they have nowhere to really stay the night, So there's a lot of things that could help with the transportation market out here.
Sure, absolutely. Thank you for that.
So we're coming close toward the end of the time that we have, but I do want to ask, and I have a few announcements to make about upcoming events, but any last questions for Dave?
I would like to interject one thing, is that I met with the high school people out here, and I heard a lot of excuses as to why the kids don't, they're not energetic or they're not enthusiastic about jobs and whatever else, all that BS. And I sat with the kids, about 50 or 60 of them, seniors, and I said, how many of you would like to have a career in engineering, any kind of engineering? And whether it's water, soil, structure, any kind of engineering, every one of those kids raised their hand. They all saw the need. They all would be interested in that. And so the emphasis that my wife had was, we need to help these kids get into the schools, into the college, and get them geared for engineering, because it is a huge need out here. My engineers all average an age of 65, and they need new blood, and they need new blood right away. And so there's jobs, there's opportunities, there's a lot of good paying jobs, that are being held off because the kids are not being directed correctly. And so we need to get some way of getting these kids into a four-year college. That'd be another boon to the economy here. And my wife and I are dedicated to try and do something about that.
That's great. And I'm sure that RCC would like to help kids get on the way toward that by training a whole new generation of young people in the foundational classes that they need so that they can transfer to Southern Oregon University or Oregon State or wherever. You know, if we can utilize the existing facilities that we have to get them the training at a fraction of the cost, and then they can transfer into the higher level facilities.
I'd like to make a little comment on that too. David and I had last year sponsored a scholarship for any student in the local high school who wanted to study engineering, any type of engineering. We gave them a nice chunk of money. And Jean Merrill, who was the person at the school at the time who was facilitating that, actually told us that we would probably never give that money away, because for kids in this school or in this school district in this town, the idea of going to college is not even on their radar, which is heartbreaking to me that, you know, economically or family support or whatever they need is not there to push them into higher education. It doesn't have to be a four-year college. It can be a trade school, but going to school is more than just learning an education. You learn how to get along with people. You learn how to, you know, collaborate, corroborate with people. It's an important thing. And this deadline for the scholarship came and went, and nobody claimed it. Not one child in the high school claimed it. And that was heartbreaking to not be able to give that away. The other thing that I want to kind of touch base on is, you know, our original idea of doing this house, these homes in this development. We had, you know, come here and wanted to make a difference in our community. We're both very community-oriented people. We are, you know, using our own funding for this, our retirement money for this, to try to make our community better, because we feel that when you have people that have the opportunity to have home ownership in their own community, they literally become vested in that community. So that was kind of our mission statement and our vision for doing this. I think in some respects we miscalculated our demographic a little bit, but all in all, things have been going really well, and we're very excited to get to be able to hand those keys to those homeowners and say, you know, welcome to home ownership. David had done a class about a year ago regarding home ownership, and people came and they didn't understand. You know, well, why would I want to give my money to a bank? Well, who do you think you're giving your money to now when you pay rent? You're giving it to someone, and they're taking it and they're spending it, and you get nothing. And trying to explain the concept of equity and building equity in your own home was a totally foreign idea for a lot of us who are familiar with what those terms are and what that means. So education is part of the key. You know, giving people the opportunity and the means, working with a lot of lenders who have great programs that can help people, like David was talking about, get into homes with little or no money down and have a mortgage that's manageable for them. We're looking at, you know, dual earning couples that earn, you know, slightly more than minimum wage, which is, you know, doable. We're not talking about $50,000 a year, you know, jobs here. We're looking at what our demographic is and what we want to do for the people of this town. And we've hit a little bit of negativity, but we are literally invested into this as well. So hopefully things will get going here. We'll be building and getting those keys in some homeowners' hands.
Okay, thank you very much. And thank you, David, for spending time to do this program about affordable housing. And I see this as the beginning of a process here. I want to just tell everybody a few announcements. One is that our plan is to start doing these virtual town halls every week. We don't know if we'll be able to pull it off every week, but we have a whole series of topics. Another series is getting ready for fire season, what we all need to do to prepare and plan for fire season. Another one is updates on the COVID-19 situation. As you know, Oregon is having there was a big article in the New York Times today about Oregon. Oregon is having a much rougher time than we had before. So we're going to need to have some updates about that. We're going to need to be also, we may do a town hall meeting on rebuilding the economy after the COVID-19, and a bunch of the different facets of that, and bring in some guest speakers there. So we'll have some things coming up. We have events that I want to mention to you. The Josephine County Democratic Party has on tomorrow, 6:30 p.m., a general meeting, Zoom meeting. And the special guest is Shamia Fagan, who is the Democrat candidate for Secretary of State. So she will be there on Zoom to answer questions and take questions. Then that's July 14th. And July 22nd, the Josephine County Democrats will have a social evening. They'll be playing traditional pub-style trivia games via Zoom with prizes. And you got to pre-register to attend those things. So you can go to the Josephine County Democratic Party site and pre-register to any of those. And then I lastly want to say again that I really appreciate everybody showing up, and anybody who could make a donation to my campaign, I'd greatly appreciate it. $50 of that, your first $50 of campaign contribution is a tax credit, tax creditable, so you can get that back on your taxes. And so I urge you to, if you're able to do that, go to my jerryallenforsenate.com website, click on the donate button, and it will take you through that. And if you have an interest and time to volunteer for the phone banking we're trying to reach out to the non-affiliated voters and lean them in our direction. And so there's a lot of work that we're doing. But thank you so much for your time, and for those of you who are already telling your friends about it and donating money. Thank you so much for everything. And we will see you next time. I'll make sure that we put out the word about the next town hall meeting. Hopefully it'll be next Monday night. Thank you.